The following program is a Town of Colonie television production of the William K. Sanford Town Library.
Welcome to Getting to Know You. My name is Joe Nash. Today we're talking to Amy Klein. She's the Executive Director of Capital Roots. They have over 50 community gardens in our area and over 4 counties. So welcome, Amy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You know, before we start talking, and I should say before we start, your website is capitalroots.org. It'll be on the screen. It's got tons of information about community farming and the Veggie Mobile, and we'll talk about all that, but a great website. We'll probably not get to all of it, but we hope to. But before we start, I just want to ask you one quick thing before we start talking about your organization. This whole thing that's going on in the country with the proliferation of farmers markets and Eat Local and the CSAs and all that, and I was just down in the library today, in our bookshelves, the new books. I'm just going to read you some titles of new books that are on our shelves right now, and these all go out because I'm looking in the back. Urban Farming, Small Space Vegetable Gardens, The Mini Farmer's Bible, The Organic Medicinal Herb Farmer, The Wild Wisdom of Weeds, and of course we have books on raising chickens and beekeeping and practical permaculture. What's going on with all this? And plus your place has, like I say, over 50 community gardens. What's going on with all this, you think?
Well, I think there's an interest for people to know where their food comes from, grow their own, people coming back to the land. This happened in the 70s when people were concerned about environmental issues, and there was a real resurgence of home gardening. And I think what's different possibly right now is that there's a greater interest in what people are calling urban farming. So it's a little bit bigger than maybe backyard gardening.
Well, they're going beyond gardening to actually growing their own vegetables and stuff. Yeah,
I think back in the 70s it was vegetable gardening in your backyard, but I think what people are taking it to a higher level now in terms of, urban agriculture, some larger scale growing, and as you mentioned, chickens, bees, taking it again to another level, really because people are concerned about where their food is coming from. People are interested in buying from farmers markets because they want to know where their food is coming from, and ensure that it is being produced locally, being produced safely, and so I think that's where you're seeing those issues cropping up.
All right, so because you have so much on your website, and again, capitalroots.org, you got to go there. Why don't we just start with the easiest question? What is Capital Roots?
Well,
because there's so much that you guys are involved with.
Yeah, so for starters, up until just this past December, so not very long ago, we were known as Capital District Community Gardens, that's important for people to know.
And you've been around 40 years, right?
We are celebrating our 40th year just this year. And so we have a long history as a community gardening organization, and as evidenced by our 51 community gardens now in the 4 counties that we work in. But the reason we changed our name is because we don't just operate community gardens, and really the essence of the organization is about providing fresh food access to everyone in our region, and especially with a special focus to people who live in urban places that don't have access to fresh, healthy food. So they're not, they don't have supermarkets, they don't have typically the farmers markets, because most of the really prolific farmers markets are located in suburban areas. So our programs really try to level the playing field in terms of access to fresh, healthy food, and also to local food by making it easily accessible and affordable in those inner city neighborhoods.
Yes, if you go on your website, it isn't just signing up to get a plot. You seem to have a lot of programs and information educating the public on some of these. Was it nutrition and What are some of the other?
Yeah, I mean, it all comes under that umbrella of healthy eating, fresh food access. So, it's not just about giving people access to fresh food, but in some cases it might be teaching people how to use that fresh food because maybe they're not so used to preparing fresh fruits and vegetables. So we want to give people the information to easily prepare a recipe. And the same with gardening. We have a lot of people that come to us who are using our community gardens who've never gardened before. And so our educator, we have an educator who works with our community gardeners, giving them basic nutrition and gardening education so that they can be successful in their food growing.
One thing it does say on all your different components of your website, it says in big letters here, "We'll teach you." And it said you actually provide the tilling, the seeds, the water, the tools. I mean,
that's right. So
what does the person have to do?
They have to do the hard work, and that is a big thing. So for our community gardening program, it's true. We provide all the resources that somebody needs to be successful in their food growing, not just the space to garden, but the tools, the seeds, the water, a secure location, and the education. But the individual has to do that hard work of gardening. And for anyone out there who's a gardener, they know that gardening is hard work. And so people have to put that sweat equity in and be willing to invest their time and energy in gardening. And they can reap a tremendous amount of benefits, both in terms of the physical activity they get out of it, the nutritional benefit, and the financial benefit, because you can grow about $1,500 worth of fresh organic produce from a community gardening plot.
And when I was reading that, one plot can yield $1,500. Like, how big is a plot?
They vary depending on the site, but generally they're on average about 400 to 500 square feet. And so, it's a good amount of space. And once people learn how to grow food, they can grow an extensive amount of food and also preserve it. And that's another thing that we teach people.
Now, I know you have 51 community gardens. Are there people on site at all of them?
In terms of our staff, our staff is sort of mobile, so they're constantly going around to the different gardens to provide support and assistance, as well as our educator. So we don't have a person at each one of those sites, but we do have gardeners that serve as our eyes and ears at each one of those gardens.
People that go there a lot.
They're a fellow gardener, and they are our garden coordinators that serve that purpose, and so they help us stay in touch, every day if anything is going on that we need to know about or any assistance is needed.
Okay, so how does one? Well, I would say you have 51. Could you just tell us approximately what counties you're in, and so people can.
So we're in Albany, Rensselaer, Schenectady, and Saratoga counties.
And they're all various size.
All various size. So our largest community garden is 2 acres, which is very large, and our smallest is about 3,500 square feet. Very small.
Okay.
So they really vary widely.
Do people just grow their own vegetables, or when you say garden, can people just grow plants if they want, or
flowers? You mean?
Flowers, I mean.
Yeah, they can, and some people do. Moreover, it's usually a mix. People are growing, vegetable food and some flowers, but we do have some restrictions on what people can grow. Has to be legal, and a few other things. But generally, people are growing food for their family.
And the other thing that's really emphasized on your website and all your information here is it's all organic.
Yes.
So is that a criteria? I mean, why don't you explain what that means so people will.
So all of our gardens are managed organically, and what that means is that you can't use any chemicals or any pesticides, any chemical fertilizers in the gardens. And the reason for that is because we have so many people that are gardening in the same space. If we allowed, let's say we have a garden with 20 people in it, if we allowed
20 different
20 different kinds of expensive chemicals to be used, we'd end up with a toxic waste dump.
Okay.
So we really want to ensure the health and safety of the people that are participating. And what we do is we teach people how to garden organically without spending money and without a lot of effort. And so that's what our garden educator does. She teaches people how to deal with pests and how to, build their soil.
So there's ways to do this without
Absolutely.
without using pesticides.
Without using pesticides,
Okay.
and also without using any fancy things that you have to buy in a special store and spending a bunch of money. So that's really what it's about. It's about building your soil so that you can keep using that plot year after year and making sure that the soil is working well for you.
So what do the residents in the areas you have your gardens, what's their response been?
It's fantastic. I mean, the gardens, they obviously serve the people that are participating in them in terms of them reaping benefits.
Most
but
people live near the one they...
Generally,
Okay.
we don't require it, but we encourage people to garden as
Okay.
close to home as possible or near where they work. But the gardens also serve as an enhancement to the neighborhood. They're, oftentimes a pocket of green space in what can be a sea of asphalt in an urban area. What you might have are, no other green space. And these are working green spaces. They're not, botanical gardens. They're not, meant to be parks. But they're also infuse energy into the neighborhood. People are there working, doing positive things in the neighborhood. So neighborhood watches have formed out of the community gardens. All kinds of positive energy have come from the gardens.
And then we were talking before we started, I mentioned the one I saw on 8th Street in Troy, and I said, that's a pretty big community garden, but you were saying that's a community farm. What's the difference?
So
the 8th Street one.
On 8th Street in Troy, we actually have a community garden, which is a very old community garden that we've had for since the early 80s. It's about a half acre. And then right next to it, we have a 2-acre urban farm, and it's called the Produce Project.
Okay.
And that is a job training program that we operate for underprivileged youth. And we use agriculture as a tool for soft job skill training. So we operate the farm year-round. We have 2 greenhouses on the site, and the students participate in the farm year-round, after school, on weekends, and during the summer. They grow the produce. They sell it at the farmers market and also at a farm stand that they have every Tuesday from 4 to 6 on 8th Street. So they sell their produce, and they're learning basic job skills through their participation. They also earn a stipend for their participation in the program, school credit, and they take a food share home to their family.
Okay.
So it's important basic job skill training for them.
All right. I do notice on your website you do have a lot of educational programs. So if someone wanted to get a spot in one of these, how would they go about that? And again, the website capitalroots.org has a lot of the information, but maybe you could explain a little bit what people watching might want to.
So we actually start signing up new gardeners very early in the year. People might not be thinking about gardening when there's snow on the ground, but we do. And so we're signing up our gardeners in February. And anyone who was a gardener with us the prior year and is a gardener in good standing, and all that means is that you had to participate. You had to try your best to grow something. You didn't have to be the best gardener, but you had to do something. You're invited back to participate again, and you get the privilege to come back to the same spot that you had before. So you got to
do this year to year?
Yes, it's a year-to-year process, but you can come back to your same plot year after year as long as you're a gardener in good standing. And we have about 85% of our gardeners that come back year after year. Then once our returning gardeners sign up, we open up all the other plots to new gardeners, plus any new gardens that we have developed for that year. So for instance, this year we have 3 new gardens that we opened, brand new gardens, one in East Greenbush, one in Troy, and one in Cohoes. So those are filled with all new gardeners because they're brand new gardens.
Do they fill up fast?
Generally they do, yeah. So we start signing up new gardeners in March, and if you wait until you're thinking about gardening, you might miss out, but we sign people up until all the plots are available, and you come to a new gardener orientation where you can learn about the program, and we'll get you all signed up for a plot.
Excellent. And what's the longest you've had someone? Is there someone that's been doing this for 30, 40 years?
Yes. Yes. We've had people who've gardened with us for, a very long time.
And how do you said you had 3 new ones this year. Where do you find the spots for the possibility?
A variety of ways, and actually the 3 gardens that we have this year are very different locations. We have one that is a garden that we own, so we're a land trust, a very different kind of land trust than what most people think of as land trusts, because we don't own big tracts of land. We own small pieces of land that make up our community gardens, but they're very important because then we know they're preserved forever, and they'll always be community gardens. So the one in Troy is an owned garden, and that was brought to us by the Neighborhood Association as a potential garden site, and we had a donor who made a donation so that we could afford to buy that piece of land from a private landowner.
So you guys own all these?
We don't own all 51. We own a lot of them.
Okay.
And then we developed one in East Greenbush in conjunction with the YMCA there.
Oh,
so
okay.
that's a collaborative project, and that's another kind of garden that we'll do where we'll collaborate with another nonprofit organization so that we know that we can count on that garden to be there for a long time. And then the third one that we did was in Cohoes in conjunction with the Eddy. And so that's a garden where seniors from the Eddy can participate, but also the community can participate.
Very good. Well, we're spending a lot of time on community gardens, and it's only if you go to your website, I keep saying that, it's a small part of what you do. I mean, it's the main part, but you got so many other things. So why don't we just talk about a few of your other things you have going on where people can buy food, get food, and involve themselves in these other things. Why don't we, the next thing on the list here, people may have seen, is the Veggie Mobile, which is not just one mobile. You got the Veggie Mobile, you got the Veggie RX, the Veggie Sprout, the virtual Veggie Mobile. Why don't you talk about the Veggie Mobile and all its aspects?
Sure. So the Veggie Mobile is our mobile produce market, and we went on the road with the Veggie Mobile in 2007. And the idea being that in our urban spaces in this region, there are a lot of areas that don't have access to supermarkets. And for many of us who live in suburban areas, that's kind of hard to imagine.
I know.
Because there's a proliferation of supermarkets in the suburban areas, but not so much in the urban areas. And so
particularly, you mean stores particularly with fresh?
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. And so what we've done with the Veggie Mobile is make it so that people who live in those urban areas have easy access to fresh produce by creating a regular schedule where the Veggie Mobile goes into those neighborhoods. We go to senior locations, we go to housing projects, we go to neighborhood stops. So every week people know where we'll be the same time, same location, and they can count on us to, make those stops, and they can do their fruit and vegetable shopping. But the other thing is, it's not just about accessibility, it's about affordability, because produce can be very expensive. So we buy the produce at wholesale price, which is about half the cost of what you can buy it for in the supermarket. And what we buy it for is what we sell it for. So whether we're buying from a wholesale distributor, like bananas.
So these aren't things that are grown in your...
They're not things that are grown in our community gardens.
Okay.
So we buy these either from a wholesale distributor or from local farms. We buy from about 50 different local farms, and it goes right from the farm gate, right on our truck, right to you. So it's incredibly fresh and top quality, and about half the cost of what you could buy it for in the supermarket. So it's making it accessible and affordable to people who don't currently have access to fresh food.
Your list of stops is on the website.
Yes.
I didn't count how many stops a week are there? Do you know?
We just added a couple more, so I'm trying to think, but it's well over 30. I think, yeah, and we're going to be modifying our schedule again this fall and adding additional locations.
And the truck, runs on diesel and solar power? Is that what I read?
Yes, so it runs on biodiesel, and both trucks have solar that run their sound system, and also that runs refrigeration inside the truck.
Yes, I was telling you I'd see the one at the North Albany Y, but I always thought the music was coming from the Y. The truck, okay.
Music comes from us. It's sort of the the better version of the ice cream man.
Okay. Yes, it doesn't have that goofy song the ice cream truck has.
No, we play some funky music.
So this other thing with the veggie, what's the, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit, the Veggie Sprout, Veggie RX, and the virtual, where people can shop online. What can you,
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about those?
Last year we started our virtual Veggie Mobile. Basically, what we keep trying to do with our fresh food access programs, which is what the Veggie Mobile is. The Veggie Mobile Sprout is a smaller version of the Veggie Mobile. We keep adding to our fresh food access programs so that people have different options who live in these urban neighborhoods, because it might be that the Veggie Mobile works for some people, but maybe not for all people, or it might work this week but not next week. And so we're trying to continuously come up with new solutions and new ways for people to access fresh food, so that there are a variety of ways that are available to people. So not just one solution. So last year we started our online market called the Virtual Veggie Mobile, and what that is it's an online marketplace, and you can order all the same products that you can get on the Veggie Mobile, but you can order online, either on your computer or on your smartphone. But we've also partnered with two of our community service programs that we have partnerships with in Troy and in Albany, CEO in Troy and Albany Community Action Program in Albany, and we're going to be adding Schenectady Community Action Program soon also. And the partnership we have there is if you don't have your own smartphone or a computer, you can go there, use their computer terminal, place your order, and those are also pickup locations for picking up your order. Also, we work with a variety of childcare facilities, group homes, food pantries who can order through the virtual Veggie Mobile and also gain access to low-cost produce.
People can pick up there.
Exactly.
But they may not be the same place as a stop. On the
exactly.
Okay.
But just another place, another way for you to access fresh food.
Now, the Veggie Mobile, does it come back empty every day usually?
It doesn't come back completely empty, but there are a lot of empty bins or near empty bins. We try to overflow it so that we try not to run out of things. We don't like to disappoint customers, but we do run out of things sometimes, and it really depends on what there's a run on.
Would you say this is something that is gaining more popularity and it's getting busier, and you're trying to get more stops, you said? You think it's only going to grow?
It has been growing for years, year upon year, but when we first went on the road in 2007, there were a lot of people who doubted that this would be something that would work, that people would gravitate toward it. And I'll tell you, that very first day, that very first stop, there were a line of people waiting. So ever since the beginning, there has been interest, and has been a very favorable response, and it has grown since then. And we just want to continue to offer those solutions to people so that everyone can have access to fresh, good food.
Very good. So the next thing on here, we already talked about this one, the Healthy Convenience Store initiative. What is that?
So our Healthy Stores program is another way that we bring fresh food into those urban neighborhoods. We have partnerships with a variety of local stores. These are sort of the mom and pop convenience stores in the neighborhoods that we're serving. And we provide a customized display unit to the store owner. It's a refrigerator and shelving, and we stock the produce for them twice a week. They buy the produce from us, again at wholesale cost. We give them a markup that they can earn, so we know that the customer is getting a fair price. We do all the marketing for the store, so you'll see an A-frame outside the store saying fresh produce is available, and it's another place that customers in those neighborhoods can buy fresh food.
These are mainly little neighborhoods.
Exactly. Yep. Downstate they call them bodegas. They don't really call them that up here, but little convenience stores.
And then on the website, there's a list of all these.
Yeah, we have 16 of them right now.
And again, is that part of your business growing? Is that growing, you think? Are you getting more and more?
Absolutely, yes. There's been an increased interest, not just in people buying from the stores, but also from the store owners who want to participate in the program. As a matter of fact, We have more stores right now than we have ability
okay.
to buy the units, and so right now we're holding off on adding more stores until we can get more resources together to be able to pay for the refrigerator units to be able to add more stores. But it's been a very successful program.
You should try to get into all the stores. They're all over the place. But these are mainly stores that don't have a produce section, right?
None of them do. And if you look around, if you go into these convenience stores, they're not selling any fresh food. And so the idea is to add that to the community so that people, can go and buy a salad. They can buy things to make a salad, or, a few items to have some vegetables for dinner or something like that.
So another thing you could mention briefly here, another education thing here, the Taste Good series. What is that?
So that's one of our educational programs, and it's geared toward very young children. We focus on children pre-K through second grade age, and our educator goes into the classrooms, again focused on the inner city classrooms because those are the children that we feel are most in need. And it's a 6-week program of nutrition education. She plays games and does songs, and every week does a different tasting of a fruit or vegetable. So the idea is to get the children to try different fruits and vegetables, and then information goes home to the family, and the students wear a sticker that says, I ate broccoli and I liked it.
I was going to say broccoli.
It's a wonderful thing. There was a situation at Cohoes where the principal thought he was hearing things because the kids were chanting, more broccoli, and he couldn't understand what was going on. But the kids really, sometimes the kids really can direct their family's eating habits, and so that is really what we're trying to foster with that program.
So you have full-time educators. How many people work at this place? It sounds like a big...
We have 25 people that work for us. Our educator actually is part-time, and she splits her time between the Taste Good series and our garden education program, depending on what time of year it is. So in the wintertime, she does the Taste Good series, and in the warm weather, she works on the garden education program. So we wish we could make her full-time, but...
Right. So now a couple more things. You have this initiative, the Squash Hunger.
Yes.
What that is, tell us what that is.
That's a fresh produce collection program, and we started that many years ago, really as a way to help gardeners who wanted to grow an extra row, which has been a long-standing program around the country, the idea of growing an extra row for the hungry, which is a tremendously wonderful idea, but what do you do with it once you've grown it? Because a lot of food pantries are open very strange hours, and it's hard to get the food to the people who need it. So we set up collection bins around the region at places that are open in the evenings and on weekends, so that if you're a gardener and you have extra, whether you've grown it on purpose, by growing an extra row, or just because you had an incredible year with a lot of cucumbers and your neighbors are running in the other direction when they see you, you don't have to do that anymore. You can bring it to a Squash Hunger bin. But we've also expanded that program by working with wholesalers to rescue produce that would normally go into the dumpsters because they have extra. So we're rescuing that and bringing it to emergency feeding programs. And we also do something called gleanings, which is when farmers have excess that they're not going to pick because they don't have a place to sell it, we have a whole corps of volunteers that will go out and pick in the fields, and then that goes to the emergency feeding programs.
You can't be doing all this with 25 people. You must...
Volunteers are critical to all of our programs.
Okay.
So.
And the last thing here we can talk about, it's you're trying to improve the urban landscape, this urban greening. Tell us a little bit about that.
So we've been doing urban greening for well over 20 years, almost 25 years now, actually. And, it mainly focuses on planting trees, although we've done a variety of landscaping projects in urban spaces like traffic islands and things of that nature. But really it's about beautifying our urban areas, making them more beautiful, more livable, healthier environments. Street trees are critically important to the health and vitality of our cities and also the economic vitality municipality. Studies have been done that show for every dollar that you spend on a street tree planting, that will reap $3 in economic benefit to a municipality. So, there's a direct correlation between greening a city and its economic, benefit. So those are things that we do on a regular basis, working with municipalities.
Very good. Well, we got to almost everything. I just want a couple more things. On the website, again, capitalroots.org, you have a lot of events during the year where you have a brunch, you have an autumn evening in the garden, you have the garden bowl, you have spring and fall plant sales, you have places where people can volunteer. So all that information is on the website. Is there anyone, do you want to mention anyone specifically, or can you just go to the website for them?
I would say go to the website. Our event coming up is the Autumn Evening in the Garden, which is a wonderful pairing between Top Chefs and local farmers. But I would encourage people to check out our volunteer opportunities. Getting involved with the organization is a wonderful way to connect, and there's a way for everybody to be involved.
Okay, and finally, I just want you maybe could just mention briefly your brand new building, which I was telling you before we started, it's right in my old neighborhood where I'm from in Troy. It's called the Urban Growth Center on River Street in Troy. Why don't you just talk a little bit about the facility and what's there, and then we'll...
Sure. So the Urban Growth Center, we opened in December of last year, and the concept behind it, it's a regional hub for our food distribution activities and also our urban greening programs. And this is just the first phase of our plan for the Urban Growth Center. We're hoping to start the next phase in another year or so, where we'll be building a bank of greenhouses and a small education building, which will also house a commercial-grade kitchen to incubate food-based businesses.
On River Street there?
In that same location. Okay. The building is at 594 River Street. We also have a produce market on site right there. And people can come. It's open to the public and buy produce, a lot of it fresh from the farm. And we invite people to come and stop by and see the facility. We're quite proud of what we've created there. It
sounds like you guys are involved in so much all over the place. It's really great work you're doing. I can only see this getting bigger and growing. So, so it's, again, capitalroots.org. Go to the website, all kinds of information. So, Amy, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And we will see you next time on Getting to Know You.